Hi.
It's so lovely to meet you all. I have the excitement of a child in a candy store because I watched your show, We Are Lady Parts, within an afternoon. I was definitely late for everything that day because I could not stop watching. I was so wildly impressed. So I can't wait to talk about it. So before we get into talking to Sarah and Faith, I'm very, very, very excited to talk to you. However, we'll start with Nida. Nida, mate, what are you thinking? How did you have the balls to pull this off? I want to hear it all.
Oh, thanks, Tan. What was I thinking? I was just really excited to find a way to bring the women in my life to the screen. I think for many years I've been kind of frustrated with the sort of representation of Muslim women I was seeing because it didn't speak to my experience. I really wanted to find a way to show them as funny, as humorous, but also I wanted to bring in my passion for music. So sort of all these things combined is where the idea came from. And I was really lucky in that when I took it to Surian at Working Title, she got it instantly and we connected immediately. And, that's where the sort of idea just grew and grew.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned Surian. Surian, Working Title, I love the work that you guys have done. However, this feels like something quite unique. I've never seen a show like this on TV. I didn't think this was possible in my lifetime. I want to know what it takes to get a show like this, for Nida to come to you and say, this is the show I want to make. Yeah. How does one convince Working Title to do a show like this?
Well, funnily enough, I didn't have to convince them because, I get to grow my own slate and I have quite a lot of freedom within the role. And I think, in my career, I've always tried to work for quite mainstream commercial companies because I feel like diverse content has a home within those spaces and should reach broad audiences and shouldn't be just sitting on the fringes. And I think that what's so wonderful about the outcome of this show is that it has done that. It's really found a broad mainstream audience and just proved that our stories are for everybody.
Did you at any point feel concerned? Because the subject matter is controversial. I'm a gay Muslim man. Believe me, I understand all too well the controversy that comes with being a little bit outside of the expected mold of a Muslim. Yeah. Were you at all concerned, Surian?
Well, we definitely talked about it. We knew we were being intentional and thoughtful and sensitive. We talked to many Muslim creatives in the lead up to the making of this show. We sat down with people. We knew we never wanted to be offensive or that we were coming from a place of love. So I think we just chose to back ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, and that very question, Tan, was so interesting to me, even as a creative, as a woman from a Muslim background creating art, and asking that question of, you want to speak your truth, but that truth may not resonate with everyone, but it will speak to certain people and it will mean something to those people, and it's sort of how much of yourself are you willing to kind of compromise in order to fit into a specific box, and that very question that we talk about, that I was going through, I really wanted to put into the show because I feel like, when I do Q&As, when I speak to kids starting in writing and especially, people from diverse backgrounds who feel the burden of representation, one of the things, it just comes up a lot. And I was like, I want to explore this. Like, you feel this burden, but you feel, this privilege to be able to speak and wanting to honor your experience and wanting to honor people who may have felt outsiders. So, it's such an interesting area that I felt so lucky that even within the show I got to explore.
Nida, when you were writing the show, and you were deciding on how the format was going to, or how the show was going to go, the arc of the show, were you concerned at all with making sure it represented a marginalized group, a wider group? Were you concerned about editing things out so that it would appease the likes of Working Title? I want to understand, for those watching who are looking to create a show that is truthful.
Yep.
I want to know what it takes to make it what you want it to be versus what the production company wants it to be or the network wants it to be.
You know, I felt very lucky, Tan, in that what I wanted it to be kind of was not allowed, but was in line with what the network wanted. You know, they actually wanted it to be what I wanted it to be, if you know what I mean. I didn't feel there was any kind of anything at odds. As Surian said, like, we were intentional when we were making choices. We were constantly asking ourselves, okay, what are we saying? Why are we saying this? And, you know, which was actually really great to just reflect, because it gives me kind of strength when you kind of are going out to people. And to see the show connect in the way it has, honestly, it's been so heartwarming and has been so exciting, because it feels like there's a shift. It feels like, you know, new voices will be able to take in the space. And because, you know, for real representation, we want a whole kind of, you know, multiplicity of voices just expressing different ways of being. So, you know, I feel like the process has been like, you know, it's been incredibly, for me, quite scary. It's my first show. It's a very personal piece of work, but it's been ultimately like so rewarding to see how, you know, how warmly it's been received. And yeah. I
mean, I'm not surprised that it's been so because it's so well done. But I'm curious to understand, was there anything that you were thinking, oh, I want to put that in, but that's too much?
That's too much? You know?
Or that's
I don't think there was there?
That's too much.
How far is too far?
How far is too far? You know, there's nothing in there where I'm like, oh, I wish I had done it differently. Maybe there's some things in, like, there was, you know, I'm trying to think.
I don't think there was.
There wasn't anything.
There was nothing that we discussed that we felt, oh, do you know what, that's going too far, because...
No.
But something that you didn't add in, like something that you think, oh, I wish I could have added it, but you were scared to add it in.
Ooh. Oh, was I scared to add anything in? No, I mean, I was terrified all the time, but that's because that's just who I am. So that was a kind of a given. But, you know, I was just excited. Anything that made me laugh, that made us laugh, went in. You know, things. I wanted to show different ways of being a woman, different representations of femininity. You know, what that even means. And, you know, when you have such a talented cast who just like bring such life to it, it just was. I felt like I was sharing this exciting story with all these incredible creatives. So it was really like, it was like breathing fresh air for the first time, you know, in the expression of it. I felt incredibly free to express. And I feel very lucky, like, you know, whenever I was worried about, like, oh, will that auntie down the road not like it or whatever, you know, my mum, you know, I'm very lucky my mother has been so such a big supporter and has been like, you go do it, go out there, you get out there. So I feel very lucky, and I've had a really great support system around me to kind of really enable me.
You said the word freeing, and it feels like a very free show. It was lovely how vulnerable the characters get to be, and it didn't feel like you were holding back. I really did want to know if there was some gossip behind the scenes that you wanted, but you didn't add it in. But no, it did feel like but it really did feel like the most honest show I've seen in a very, very long time, which is beautiful to see. So I think with those shows that touch on something that isn't talked about often or isn't seen often, I think we do baby steps and baby steps. Well, I love that you, I don't know if I can use the term balls deep, but I do. I love you went like in. Nida, you mentioned your wonderful cast. I would love to talk to your wonderful cast. Let's start with you, Sarah.
All right.
Hey, I've been doing a bit of a deep dive. I assumed, you know, when you watch somebody on a show, you think that they were just trained for that thing. So they were trained to dance, they were trained to sing, they were trained to play an instrument. You actually sing?
Yeah, well, I was in a band for like 6 years, but singing soul indie music, which is very different to punk. Like so different. Is it? What? And it was amazing, because I think when I first started the project, I was like, Nida, can I have lessons in like punk singing? And obviously, like, that doesn't exist. It's just about connecting to the raw feeling inside you and speaking something passionately. So it was amazing to kind of get in that zone and be able to do it with these incredible women. Like, we gave each other a lot of permission to just scream really loudly and emotionally, and it was beautiful.
Faith and Sarah, were you ever nervous or embarrassed at first having to sing in that way? Because it's a unique skill.
I was never nervous, but I was like spurred on by the craziness that was coming from Sarah. I got there and I was like, okay, right, let's go. And I remember the first time, Nida, we were like putting some tracks down, and then they were like, okay, go. And the music started, and Sarah just became a different person. And like, she like jumped up on the spot and then just transformed. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going. Okay,
going there.
That's what. So I was never like, from you, I got like a lot of. Yeah, I felt free to go to places. But I do remember the first day we recorded a song, and I was just like, what is happening? I'm on set, I've got a guitar in my hand, like, what is this? And I just crept up to Sarah, and I just leant my arm on her and whispered in her ear, I'm really overwhelmed. And she just hugged me.
You were like, this is my safe space.
This is my safe space. I'm just going to hug you for a little while.
Like, you've got this. You've got this.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
And it was a lot of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, we need each other.
Wait, was this your first big show, like first meaty project?
Yeah, it was my first TV series, but also Sarah's.
And mine, yeah.
It was both of our first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, did you rely on each other? I know we're missing two also. But did you all rely on? Well, many, but two in particular. Did you? The bandmates I'm talking about. Did you rely on your fellow bandmates and castmates for support? Because it is intimidating on your first big TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. No. No, we did.
Like you said, no, we don't talk off that.
Yeah.
No,
That's why we're sitting so far apart.
we're such.
Can you imagine? No, please.
But we're so in sync, aren't we? Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have a really beautiful relationship, all of us girls. And I think the music aspect of the show
Yeah.
really helped with that, because we always said, like, if anything did happen, like, if anything was embarrassing, only we knew what was embarrassing. And if we were, like, shouting into a microphone, like emotions, and then our guitar just fell off, like, because the strap just fell off, and it was just like super embarrassing. Or if Juliet was like playing a like really cool drum solo and the stick just flew out of her hand, it was like, it was such a safe space because we could laugh with each other about everything.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
yeah, so it just helped. All of us helped each other. I think it was very beautiful.
Yeah, and definitely
So
growing
did
as a
you-
band. Oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
No,
You did
no, sorry.
play instruments also, or you had to learn for the show?
So we learned for the show, which was amazing. I maybe touched a guitar when I was like 8. And then I learned that you had to cut your nails, and I was in that phase where I was like, really wanted long nails, so I couldn't do it. But then suddenly you get this amazing opportunity, and an instrument just falls into your hands. And so we learned, but Faith did incredibly, because she got the guitar last.
Yeah. I got the guitar like 10 days before we were starting, because I got cards like 10 days before we were starting. I did all my lessons on Zoom. I had many panic attacks, many. Just like sitting there, rehearsed for like 5 hours at a time, got there, and then we all did it, and it was cool, and now I know how to play 9
do
to
we
5.
actually hear you play? I thought it was probably a backing track. We actually hear you play on the show after 10 days?
We can play the song.
We play all the songs.
But it's to a track on screen, but the vocals are live. All
the
of our
vocals are live. We play everything.
But we became very obsessed with being able to play the tunes. So we would say, just turn the track off, and we're going to play it from start to finish, and wait to get 100%. And one day we got 100%.
Yeah, we did.
So
Look at you guys doing method.
what can I say?
We'd be like, cut the track.
It's good.
Julie, I didn't realise that. Did Juliet not play drums beforehand?
No.
She plays bass.
She
actually,
played
in
the
real
bass.
life. Yeah,
Then
yeah.
you
Waste.
two are impressive, but Juliet is wildly impressive with that agency.
Isn't she cool?
It's so difficult. Like, the drum's the hardest.
We
You're
just
gonna know
stare
if
at
someone
her
misses it. Yeah.
during her take. It'd be like, okay, time for Juliet's close-up, and we'd all just hide behind the camera like
wow.
watching her.
But she was even working on tricks. She got that far that she was like, okay, I really want to spin it in this scene.
Yeah. Because my brother who worked with taught everyone how to play the instruments, and had like these, he was just so impressed with how quickly all the actors were picking up the songs, and Juliet as well. Like, he taught her how to do the kind of thing, the drum twist or whatever, and she drilled it for a night, came onto set and was like, get a close up of me, and it was basically in every trailer.
Nida, speaking of your family, is it right that you came up with these songs with your family? That you wrote the songs with your family? Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I wrote the songs with my brother-in-law, my sister, and my brother, who also taught the actors how to play the instruments and composed the score. So we kind of grew up in a really musical household. My dad got me a guitar when I was 8, so music has always been like very much part of our lives. So it was just really cool to get to write the songs with my siblings. Yeah.
Nida, where does your lineage come from? Is it Pakistan?
Yeah, my parents are both Pakistani. Yeah.
Wow, and they gave you a guitar. Your parents are definitely very different to my parents.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see a sort of similarity between Amina's parents and my parents. You know, my dad was a big kind of Simon and Garfunkel fan, which is why I got that sort of influence as well as he was listening to Qawwali music and stuff. So it was just quite eclectic at home, and music and art was really valued. So I think that's why, like, yeah, we're all kind of a bit music obsessed in my household. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your dad,
Yeah.
so I would like to know, did you actually pull from real life for many of these stories, or are the majority of them just completely fictional?
It's a kind of mix. You know, there's some, because as you'll know from watching the series, the sort of the journey that the characters go on is quite is a traditional kind of hero's journey, and it just allowed me to kind of infuse the details of what I felt has like been my experience. And you know, I drew a lot of inspiration from the women in my family. My older sister has been quite an inspiration, and also very much kind of inspired Syra's character. So it's been like a real labor of love to bring the sort of women around me, as well as my own experience, and sort of put that into the show. And I made some stuff up too. Not fully.
You know, I did think it was beautiful the way you showed different versions of Muslim families, maybe not even Muslim families, Asian families. I mean, Amina's family is so different to Syra's family. Like Syra's family is super, super traditional, whereas Amina's mom is trying to give her the sex talk and basically love, like, enjoy yourself. Was that important to you guys, Nida, to Surian? Was it important for you to really make sure that you had a diverse representation within this very marginalized group?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was important for me to kind of show different ways of being across the board. You know, just all the different ways of being a Muslim woman, and you know, and the kind of differences in families. It just sort of reflected my friends, you know, that we are all, you can say that have similar, you can kind of, the top line Muslim women, but actually the detail of who you are and your culture and the specificities of the family dynamics are so unique. So it's just wanting to show some variation.
That's what you never normally see. You know, you never normally get to have five Muslim female protagonists. You know, so that to dig into the nuance, which was, you know, it was like breathing fresh air, as Nida says.
Yeah, no, it was. I know I sound like a completely crazy fangirl, but it was so beautifully done. It really was. I was wildly impressed that it wasn't just one very specific version of what the audience would assume is this Muslim community. There was so much diversity within this group. It was so impressive. When it came to casting, I want to know how we ended up with these superstars that we see here. Was it hard casting a show like this?
It was really hard in that, like, you know, not only do this group of women have to work well as an ensemble, it's a comedy, so they have to be great at the comedy, as well as it's a punk show, so they have to be able to be musical, but also musical in a very specific kind of realistically punk way. So
also to be able to do drama well.
And drama.
There are really moments in this show.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, so I feel like I cast the perfect people, you know, and when the sort of group of women came together, there was like a chemistry that, you know, the show really lives on the chemistry between the cast. And so, like, it was a very intensive process, but one that I just feel like so incredibly lucky to have been on, because I got to see the characters be brought to life with such, like, care and thoughtfulness, but joy, and, like, you know, just the vibe that you guys brought was, like, amazing. So it was hard, but ultimately totally worth it, because
Did you have to do a chemistry test first? Did you book them all individually? How does this work? There are so many people who are watching this that will be producing the show, creating the show. How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, it was slightly different because we cast a bit during COVID times, but there was chemistry reads was quite important. So where we could, we'd bring a few of the actors together to see if the chemistry was there, see if the rhythm in the comedy was kind of coming together, and so there was definitely an element of that kind of chemistry test, and also part of the audition was actors having to see if they could pick up musical instruments, because it was quite important to me that that it looks and it's believably like these actors are playing. And so they also had a session with my brother where they had to kind of see if they could handle an instrument, and obviously you guys nailed it. So it was, I can't imagine how it was for you guys. I'm really sorry.
You never have to be sorry for anything, because we're the luckiest people in the world. Nida.
I would have done what Nida did. I would have bathed into a bucket.
Yeah, sure.
They didn't, don't worry.
Yeah. The thing is, Shez, Nida's brother, is the most laid-back, relaxed man you'll ever meet in your whole life. Yeah. And obviously you go into the room with these unbelievable, nervous energy of an audition, and you get a guitar, and he's teaching this song, and you just want him to be happy. and he looks at you and he goes, "Good. Let's try again." And you're like, okay, that sounds good. Okay.
Oh my God.
It's so amazing. But he's the only person I think who could ever have taught all of us our instruments. So much patience.
Yeah. Because we were freaking out. Well, I was
freaking out.
But he was calm.
Speaking of you freaking out, you mentioned that you were there you had got booked 10 days before they started shooting.
Yeah. Well, before rehearsal started, yeah.
Oh, for rehearsal, sorry.
Yes.
So how did you get into the headspace? Because your character is a little different from the others. You don't seem as bat-ish crazy as the others. You're like the mom. You are the literal mom. You have a child show, but you are definitely the nurturing energy.
Yeah.
Is that you? Is that who you are? Like, tell me how you prepare for a role like this.
I love the way you're shaking your head. I'm like, no, but she's like, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, how did I get myself into, I just really wanted to be in it, to be honest. I was like, I'll be whoever you want me to be. But within how did I get into it? Within the car, I have friends who are definitely like that for me. Like, if I'm panicking, will just put their hand on my chest and be like, breathe. So I could draw from that. And there was something just so right about this project. I don't know, I just felt like I was where I needed to be. Which meant that usually I think when it comes to acting things, sometimes you don't believe you can do it, but I felt really safe around Nida and the cast, and I just felt like I could do anything, including pick up a bass that I'd never played. I just felt like I could do that, just because it was such a beautifully safe space. So, and everything just came together. Everyone was just so wonderful, and the cast was so beautiful.
She just does create the safest space. I have to say, just throughout the whole process, there's no room
ego
for toxicity or
nothing.
It's just everybody's just feeling the love and working, and because she's got such a strong vision, it just makes everybody else's life kind of easy, really, doesn't it? Because what every team, whether it's the production designer or the casting director, everybody knows what the vision is for the show, and everyone's working together to realise that, and it's you just know how to create a very happy set, I'd say, and it's so important, isn't it? We've all had such a kind of crappy year, and COVID has been, the pandemic's just been, but to make this show was actually just incredibly joyful. It really was, wasn't it? It was happy times.
What the end result absolutely does. I know this all too well from being on a positive set. It just creates incredible work. If there's a lot of tension, if it's difficult, if the director or the creator isn't resolute, you don't get a result like this, for sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to Sarah and Faith, I want to touch on this because I think that this is the question I had, and I know that my family has the same question. Mm-hmm. My family are kind of a typical representation of the Muslim community in the UK. Some of us are religious, some of us are not so religious, some of us are real loosey-goosey. Was there pressure playing Muslim women for you?
I would say there was no pressure because everything was treated with such respect, and because you knew it was coming from, you know, the deep life experience of someone who is, you know, who has lived that life. You knew that it would just be anything we were worried about. We would just go straight to Nida and say, "Is this right? Is this represented in the right way?"
Yeah, I think we were proud to just bring visibility to just people. We were just so proud to do that. I just. Looking at the world, I just think that stories are really what's going to change mindsets and hearts for people, and I just think that more stories need to be told, and we're really privileged that we get to tell Nida's and we get to bring that one to life. But I'm just immensely proud of it. I watch it and I just think this is what should be going out into the world. So yeah, I was just really excited and I wanted to just pay all the respect and I wanted to do it right. But yeah, it was mainly pride.
And it's starting so many more conversations, isn't it, around representation, about stories being told.
Yeah.
And lots of people are reaching out and saying, you know, this is exactly my life experience and you've shown it on screen. And that feels amazing.
The reason I ask that is because there hasn't been a show like this. Nida, you've done something incredible. You've created a show that really is representative of who our community is in the UK. But that comes with a lot of pressure. Believe me, I understand that pressure like not many people do. And so I want to understand, there's the scene, I think it was episode 5, the scene where the horrible journalist basically does you guys real dirty. And then the Twitterverse goes insane. But there's also some positivity. How's that been in real life? What's the reaction to the show been?
Gosh, you know, from what I've seen, it's been, again, just so warmly received. And I think, you know, I'm not like that much online as I maybe was when I was younger, but... That's
a good thing, avoid it.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, so I'm following that. But, you know, my family and my friends and the women who've been around me and who I was sort of looking to represent have been really kind, so that's meant a lot. Yeah, I mean, you guys are more online.
It's been so supportive.
They love it. Yeah.
So much joy. Everyone reaching out, connecting.
People drawing, like making.
Oh my God, the fan art, Tan.
The fan art
is so beautiful.
I love fan art. It's the best. It's
beautiful.
Actually, let me tell you this. I told you I did a bit of a deep dive, and last night, I thought I should do something that I hate doing for myself, which is seeing what people are saying about you online.
Oh.
And so I Googled, I hate We Are Lady Parts.
What did they say?
When I'm in one of those spirals of my own, I'll
okay.
Right, okay.
Whoa. Anyway, I hate lady parts, and there wasn't much compared to most shows out there. Almost all of it was positive. And I wanted to see, because I wanted to know what my people were saying, because we can be the most judgmental, quite honestly, when it comes to our own representation and what we see as appropriate representation. And I was so proud of my people, thinking, yeah, good for you. They didn't come for you guys at all. It was just, finally we see a version of us that feels like us.
Yeah.
That must be lovely.
That's good.
It is lovely. I was, you know, a bit, you know, bracing for impact because you just, again, like you never know when it feels like you're sort of treading new ground. It sometimes feels like a bit, you know, it's worrying. But like, again, because we were sort of very clear on our intention and
it's when you're the only one, it's a lot on Nida's shoulders, you know, to be kind of, you know, representing, you know, you can't possibly, can you, represent a whole people? So
they expect you to, but the answer is no.
There just needs to be more stories, you know.
Yeah. But amazing thing was, you know, the non-Muslim community, them watching it and realising there are all these multifaceted versions of under the umbrella of a Muslim woman was so important. Like the conversations there have been my favourite. Saying I never knew 5 Muslim women would change my life. I was like, okay,
nice,
amazing.
Surian, you mentioned something that I want to pull that thread just a little bit more. You were talking about representation and seeing more of it. Has this show, the fact that you guys have produced this show, has it encouraged you to take on other projects that have that are representing people that haven't been represented in the right way before?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I mean, you know, as a brown producer, that's my life's work anyway. It's you know, it's really nice that it's sort of become more fashionable of late. You know, if it's diversity is the buzzword at the moment, that's great. But you know, please let's make sure it's not a flash in the pan. That you know, once we've done it, we then don't tick the box and then move on to the next fashion. You know, because diversity isn't just a buzzword; it's a lived experience. You know, I've been in this industry for 20 years or so, and this is the first show I've made with someone the same colour as me. So it's hugely meaningful for me, hugely. And you know, and I don't want to go back in the box. I want, you know, this is like, you know, the genie's out of the bottle. I want to go forth. I want to do more. You know, whether it remains in fashion or not in fashion, I don't know. But these are the stories that speak to me and my people. And I'm British and, you know, part of this country. So I think there's got to be no going back, right? But it's a fight. Any show's a fight. I mean, that's what, you know, to all the producers watching and listening, you know, any green light is a fight. And if it's, you know, you're part of a minority, you know, and the show that you're hoping to produce is a minority show, then it's tougher. There is no question about it, because you know, the industry standard is still, you know, it's white and male and all those, you know, heteronormative and all those things. So that's going to take some time to change, isn't it?
But I hope that the commercial success of this show means that there are more doors open for greater representation, better stories. I want to understand, Nida, how you go from creating your first show. How do you get in touch with Working Title, a major production company, and then getting Peacock and Channel 4 to say yes?
A long road, indeed. But so, you know, I had written on shows up to that point. It was mostly like kids' TV stuff. I directed and sort of written and directed some comedy short films, as well as like worked on some pilots as a director. So I had some kind of level of experience within the industry. But you know,
well, this was the first show you created, right?
Yes. This was the first show I created, because I had actually been going in and taking meetings where I was being asked to write about sort of the experience of a Muslim woman, but they wanted me to write it as like a tragedy, or you know, the oppressed woman, and that's really where I kind of thought, I don't want to do that. I want to show joy and humor in the women I know, and really try and bring that to the screen. So I sort of went off and developed a pitch on my own. And I sort of came up with the characters. I just really went deep into like what I wanted to say, and kind of came up with mood boards and created this kind of pitch. And then I was able to take that around. You know, my agent sort of set me up with different producers to meet them and just see what their take was. And it was a really good way for me to see if people wanted me to make it more dramatic, or like, oh, it's a bit too silly. I'm like, well, I want it to be silly. So if you don't want it to be silly, I'll take it somewhere else. And you know, for me, it was Surian at Working Title, who I'd met when you were at Channel 4. And you know, our sensibilities really aligned. She was really keen to like let me find it. You know, it wasn't like we rushed it through. It took quite a few years to get it to a good place. We worked on it, and I really had the good fortune of being able to shape it with, you know, people who were giving me incredible feedback, and I really felt nurtured. And so when we felt ready, we then took it to Channel 4 and pitched it for Comedy Blap, which is their sort of comedy hothouse thing. So we got a small pilot. It was almost like a little short film. And then off the back of the success of that, it went to a full series at Channel 4, and Peacock kind of came on board after that, I'd say.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a long road, but one where I was really allowed to kind of find the story and really work closely with Surian.
Yeah, but also because we made that little pilot, you know, we could take risks on costume designers and DOPs and people that, you know, bring other brown women up with us, frankly, or, you know, so that it's just, you know, it was just such an actually amazing opportunity for Nida to put together her own team and curate it without huge American money already on board, or, you know, so it was sort of, you know, it was kind of incremental, I'd say. Yeah.
Now, I've only got time for one last question. I'm so sorry, but this one is for Sarah and Nida. Sarah, I love you. You do such a beautiful job with the range of emotion of Syra, like really, like truly, especially when she's saying goodbye. I can't remember his name and I feel terrible, but the guy you
Abdullah.
kind of in the show.
Abdullah.
Yeah.
Abdullah. Especially when you're basically saying, look, it can't happen. I've got too much going on. And he's like, peace out. Anyway, it's beautifully done. And also when you're really angry about the review, it was beautifully done. I want to know if we are, I'm going to say, inshallah, if you have a season 2 of the show, We Are Lady Parts, I can't understand why there wouldn't be. Where would you want Syra to go? And how would you want to make that character come to life? And then also, Nida, what else do you want for the show? If this goes on, where do the girls go? Where does Lady Parts go?
You go first.
Oh, good question. Where
I
will
need some
Syra
notes.
go?
Where was Syra?
So many places. I mean, she's dealing with so much and it's all coming to the surface and the girls are allowing that and that relationship is allowing that. I think she's realising so much. But where we are with the band is such a precipice for Syra that I think it would be great to see, now she's reached that goal, like what does that mean for her? Like, is something kind of satisfied or does it lead on to, a different hunger, a different goal? And how does she deal with keeping these girls together? You know, she's just got them together. And this is exactly what she's always wanted to see. And I think there's something in her and Amina's relationship as well that I want to see how they rub off on each other even more. Because she's grown so much because of Amina. And Amina, it's vice versa. So, I'd love to see what happened there.
You know, I will say this. Syra's character is the closest to me in my life story, and so I resonated so greatly with her emotion. She did such a beautiful job of conveying the thing that I felt at that time with my family. It was beautifully done.
Oh, thank you. I have to say as well that I've never ever seen a character written like that. Ever.
Yeah.
And lots of people have commented on that fact. When do you see that amount of emotion or deepness in a character on screen who's brown, who's dealing with these things so openly? Like, we get a real look into her vulnerability. And I think it's just never been written before, in my opinion.
And written beautifully. And now, Nida, I'm so sorry, producers. I promise I'm done. But Nida, where are we going next?
I don't know.
Doing any Aisha anymore, or what? That wasn't enough queer for me.
Wait, say the last bit again, Tan. You can't.
Was it queer for me? Do we get to experience Aisha's queer story more? Like, where did the rest of the girls go?
Oh my gosh, Tan. We have there's so much story we actually generated that couldn't make the full series because of how short the episodes were. There's so much more detail on all the characters that I want to go into, and how a level of success kind of might impact the band. For me, it's always so fun to see the band dynamics, and just leveling up and seeing how the band deal with that. But also, I just love the opportunity to go look at the interiority of these women's lives, and I sort of want to keep that there as well, of their relationships, the families, that kind of stuff, as well as finding some more cool new covers, writing new songs, just more madness.
Well, good. I can't wait. I'm hoping it will happen soon because I knew I shouldn't have watched it within a day. I should have spent. I'm a typical millennial. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your very, very considered answers. It's been lovely talking to you all. I can't begin to tell you how much I love the show. And for all of you out there, if you have not seen all episodes yet, go watch it. It's incredible. And finally, a thank you to our session sponsors at Channel 4. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Lovely to meet you.